The Rangers are back in action tonight in Nashville against the Predators, but there's so much going on within this team and this season. So let's talk Blue Shirts with Jim Cerny, executive editor over at Forever Blueshirts. Jim, man, how you feeling, man? Feels like we haven't talked Blue Shirts in forever. No pun intended right there.
And I think the last time we talked about it, it certainly wasn't a lot of good to talk about. And guess what? There's a lot more not so good stuff to talk about.
Yeah, but we still have a job to do. So let's see if we can find some sort of silver lining through it all. But it's going to be hard because we're talking 4 losses in the last 5 games, 10 in the last 13. Jim, what the heck is going on with this team? Why are they still struggling since the last time we talked?
Yeah, that's a great question right there. The key word you use right there, Brandon, is still. Like, I get it. They weren't playing great hockey even when they were picking up wins earlier in the season. You know, the defensive miscues, the what we call one and done offense where, they weren't sustaining offensive pressure, but they were a quick strike team and they were getting by with great goaltending and some real good special teams and those quick strike goals. It was kind of covering up their issues, their overall issues. But then it caught up to them. They started losing some games. But you just didn't think that they would fall this far, this fast. And the thing that stands out to me the most, Brandon, is their compete level. It's really concerning. You know, they come out flat night after night. And then even the nights that they have a good start, they can't sustain it. I cannot tell you the last time they put in a complete 60-minute effort. And those, it all adds up to just bad hockey. And as you pointed out, losing 10 out of their last 13 games heading into Nashville tonight against a team that's actually more disappointing than the Rangers are this season.
When you say things like effort, those are trigger words. Is that more on the players or is that more on the coaching?
It's a great question again, because again, you've been in the locker rooms, right? So it's hard to say if you're not in the locker room all the time, where does this land? I will say that it's not a great look. And Peter Laviolette's history tends to come in, his first season with the team goes really, really well, and then there's a fall off the second season. I expected some fallback this year from the Rangers. I did not expect this. By fallback, I thought they might finish second or third in the division, not be 30 games into the season, and not even be in a playoff spot. So for sure, Peter Laviolette takes some, has to take a hit here. But really, this has to be on the players, these core players. They already got one coach fired in Gerard Gallant. Are they going to get another one fired less than 2 seasons after Gallant was fired? To me, it falls on the core here, and we can get into names if you want, but really it's a collective issue. And it might be a confidence thing. It just might be that the Rangers are better when they're the bullies, when things are going well and they're rolling, basically downhill where they're picking up speed and everything's going their way. That's when the Rangers are at their best. That's when they were at their best in the playoffs last year, right? Steamrolling the Washington Capitals, winning their first 7 games. But then all of a sudden, when the sledding got tough, whoa, it doesn't stick with them then. And then, the doubts creep in, and they may not just have that resolve to work through it. We saw it in the playoffs last year, and now I think we're seeing it in a much, much larger dose so far this season.
Well, I want to back up to something you said. You said it falls on the core, and because of that, there's all types of trade rumors swirling around New York lately. We saw Jacob Trouba, a core guy, get traded to Anaheim about a week ago. So what should GM Chris Drury do before or at the trade deadline? And if you're Drury, who's on the trade block?
Great questions, Brandon. It's hard breaking up this core right now. It's hard making trades if you're Chris Drury, because probably the guys you want to move out are guys that are not so movable. You have players with no movement clauses, with limited 15 team trade, no trade clauses. That makes things difficult. His is not an easy job right now. What he did with Trouba was a positive, a big positive. And I know it hasn't gone over great inside the locker room. And I know that they still need to replace Trouba out there because rookie Victor Mancini seems a bit overwhelmed right now. And it is not really that capable guy stepping in for Trouba, who's playing 20 minutes a night. As much as I know the fans wanted to run him out of town, he still played 20 minutes a night. And he was still one of your top penalty killers. He was your most physical player. Probably he and Will Cooley are the top two physical players on the roster. So there's still, you have to go out and replace Jacob Trouba, what you lost in dealing him away. But what they did gain was salary cap space. So it gives Drury a little breathing room, maybe to bring back some salary, bring in maybe a player that combines a little bit more grit with his skill to kind of offset what that roster looks like right now, what that core looks like right now. You mentioned what players may he want to trade. Well, the first sign of who they may want to trade may have come in their last game against the St. Louis Blues. Kaapo Kakko was a healthy scratch. Now, he's a nice player. He's turned into a third-line player, reliable, good two-way player, gets in on the forecheck, but he just doesn't score enough. He was the former number 2 overall pick. He just hasn't done enough here. And I think he's a guy that has some value around the league that the Rangers would be willing to move, and he's got an affordable salary cap hit. They'd be willing to move as part of a package to get that maybe grittier top 6 forward that can really change their dynamic up front. He alone won't do that. We hear Chris Kreider's name in the trade rumors as well. He has 15 teams that he can't be traded to, but that means there are 16 other teams that he can be traded to. I would think somebody would have interest in him, especially a contender. He's been a great playoff performer in his career. He's a super special teams player right now, but 5-on-5, he just doesn't really cut it right now for the Rangers. They need to upgrade there. So Kreider, Kakko, and, when K'Andre Miller comes back, he's out right now, the 24-year-old defenseman, who I think still has, pretty big window, a nice window in front of him, but he kind of has hit his ceiling these last 2 years, and his play has dropped off. I think he's a player the Rangers would take a look at considering trading, because I think a player like that, which with a bigger, brighter future, might get you more in return than a Kreider or a Kakko would.
Well, let's see if Kaapo Kakko gets that roster management treatment if he's a healthy scratch down in Nashville tonight when they take on the Predators. They need this one. Create some sort of momentum, get some sort of spark, breathe some sort of life into this franchise. So, Jim, give us your keys to the game.
So here's the thing. Here's the number one key, and it's no strategy or anything. Win the game. I mean, win the game. The Rangers and the Predators right now, where they were considered to be, and both were, Stanley Cup contenders and favorites among many betting lines heading into this season, are the two most disappointing teams in the NHL. Now, as bad as things have been for the Rangers, they're still 15-14-1. They're just a point or two out of a playoff spot. You still have 52 games left on your schedule. So you feel better about the Rangers than the last overall Predators. I mean, the Predators are just a train wreck. And this is after acquiring Steven Stamkos, Jonathan Marchessault, Brady Shea, all these key guys in the offseason. They have been terrible. So no ifs, ands, or buts. If you're the New York Rangers, I don't care how you do it. I don't care if it's ugly. I don't care if it's beautiful. I don't care if it's 60-minute effort carries you. I don't care if you only work 10 minutes, but you still get the win. You got to get the 2 points against this opponent tonight, because I tell you, the schedule gets pretty brutal for the Rangers after this. So they need a win. They need, like you said, a spark, something to build on heading into Dallas this weekend, and then Carolina and Jersey before the holiday break. And it doesn't get much easier after that. So Rangers have a tough stretch coming up. They absolutely, no question about it, need the 2 points tonight. I know that's not a key, but that is an absolute must for them this evening.